Hello there, this is Cool Talk and the history of the world. Right now, the year 2018, let us begin. In Turkey, President Erdogan announces military operations in Syria to capture a portion of the north from the Kurds. China announces that it managed to clone monkeys. In March, former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia were poisoned in England. Now, speculation was that the Kremlin was behind it. 20 countries expelled over 100 Russian diplomats. The world leaders of the United States and North Korea meet for the first time. In the U.S., in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, there was a shooting, and the teenagers protest with a national school walkout, but there were no changes in U.S. policy toward gun laws. China removes term limits for its leaders, and Xi Jinping becomes president for life. And meanwhile, Russian leader Vladimir Putin is elected president for a fourth term. In Syria, there was a sarin chemical attack that killed 70 and injured hundreds. The United States, the United Kingdom, and France then bombed Syrian military bases in retaliation. The members of a Japanese doomsday cult known as the Aum Shinrikyo were rounded up and convicted for the sarin attack in Syria. They were all executed, including its leader, Shoko Asahara. The Israeli Air Force then conducts missile strikes in the west part of Syria. And then when a land Syrian missile shoots down a Russian plane, Russia blames Israel for using its plane as cover.
Another game, another Super Bowl game that ends on
redemption. It is France. It will be some can-can on the Champs-Élysées tonight. France are the champions of the world.
In Nicaragua, the government announces it would reduce retirement pensions. This sparked a protest. The police were summoned and they killed 34. In Saudi Arabia, for the first time in 35 years, cinemas were open, and the first movie that was shown? Black Panther. In Cuba, President Raul Castro steps down and is succeeded by Miguel Diaz-Canel. In Hawaii, a volcano erupts and forces thousands of its residents to evacuate. In Guatemala, another volcano kills 109. The NASA space probe InSight begins drilling on Mars to study its geology, and a subglacial lake is discovered. President Donald Trump of the U.S. announces that the United States would withdraw from the Iranian nuclear agreement that had been signed just a few years earlier. 1.9 billion people were glued to the TV to watch England's Prince Harry marry Meghan Markle. In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro is re-elected, but several countries denounced the election as a sham. The United States withdraws from the United Nations Human Rights Council. The U.S. placed tariffs on China for $34 billion. China announces that it would retaliate, and the trade wars had begun. When it was known that Facebook failed to erase data as requested, the stock dropped, and in one day it would lose a market value of $100 billion. Later, it would face a lawsuit in California for creating fake accounts and just to inflate its user data and become more appealing to advertisers. Meanwhile, Apple Incorporated became the first public company to achieve a market capitalization of over $1 trillion. Teenager Greta Thunberg begins to stay out of school in Sweden to protest climate change. Others followed her example, and it became a worldwide movement. A tsunami in Indonesia kills over 4,000. Journalist Jamal Khashoggi decides to go to a Saudi consulate in Turkey. He was trying to get documents for his pending marriage. Well, he goes inside the consulate and is never seen again. He was murdered. In November of 2018, the CIA concluded that Saudi leader Mohammed bin Salman had ordered the assassination. The European-Japanese spacecraft, the Bepi Colombo, begins its 7-year journey to Mercury. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge system opens. It has 3 cable bridges, an undersea tunnel, and 4 artificial islands. It is the longest open sea link in the world, 34 miles long. Jair Bolsonaro, a nationalist, populist, pro-life, pro-gun, anti-establishment, and homophobic politician, is elected president of Brazil, winning 55% of the vote. In November, the space probe Voyager 2 reaches interstellar space, the outer limits of the sun's magnetic field. In California, a wildfire destroys over 18,000 buildings and kills 88 people. The Russian Coast Guard captures 3 Ukrainian Navy vessels passing through the Black Sea. In China, scientist He Jiankui announces that he had altered the DNA of a pair of newborn twin girls to make them resistant to the HIV virus. In France, the Yellow Vest movement took place, a movement to protest fuel prices, the high cost of living, and the disproportionate government tax reforms. It was the largest civil unrest in France since the protests of 1968. 11 died and over 4,000 would be injured. Half of the world were now using the internet. 2 women in their 20s, a Danish woman named Louisa Vesterager and a Norwegian, Maren Wieland, were captured and decapitated in Morocco. ISIS committed the act, and they recorded it and placed it on the social media. 24 suspects were arrested and convicted. 3 were sentenced to death. In London, when reports of drone sightings were made, Gatwick Airport was afraid it might be a terrorist drone attack, so thousands of flights were canceled or affected, but no evidence of drones was ever found. The United States begins a government shutdown that December that would last until January of 2019 due to a dispute over funding for the United States-Mexican border wall. In a prison in West Virginia, notorious gangster 89-year-old Whitey Bulger was found dead. He was attacked by his fellow inmates. He was killed, beaten. His eyes were gouged out, his tongue almost ripped off. Officers said he looked unrecognizable. The Nobel Peace Prize that year was given to gynecologist Denis Mukwege of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Nadia Murad Basi Taha, an Iraqi Yazidi. Gynecologist Mukwege specialized in treating women victims of war-related rapes. He would spend 17-hour days, sometimes operating on 10 women a day. And Nadia Taha, the Yazidi, was assisting women and children that were victims of human trafficking and genocide. Nadia herself, at 19 years old in 2014, had been kidnapped by the Islamic State. She was beaten, tortured, and raped several times before escaping.
What on God's green earth are you doing?
A letter.
Looks more like a piecemeal ransom note.
May I? The picture.
Okay, the son of an 18-year-old.
Oh, she died at childbirth. And my dad,
I'm sorry.
he died when I was 13, so I guess my brother would tell you that he raised me, but...
3. Jesus H. Christ!
What did you just do, boy? What the hell did you just do?
People waiting.
You know, you don't have to be so disrespectful. You've actually carried my books here.
And you are?
Lee Israel.
Oh, we have copies of your latest work right over there.
I lost some 17 children. Some were born as blood. Some without breath.
Oh, yeah, right. You'd sob in my lap and you'd beg me to forgive you, and I always would, because, you know, somehow you convinced me that my talent made you.
And that's it. Next video will be 2019. In the meantime, tell me what you think. Comment below, send me your likes, or better yet, subscribe. This is Cool Talk.